So this is how it started. Someone DM'd me on Instagram. They got a new camera and were excited to go out and shoot. The reality is a bit different. They came back with the photos that they are not happy with. Can you relate? In today's video, I'm going to share one tip that will elevate your photos. Do you know what it is? Sometimes photos taken in the same location, same composition, same camera can look different. The secret ingredient is light, a total game changer. It creates contrast, not to mention it sets the tone. Light can bring your photos to life. We talk about light in terms of exposure a lot, but I'm going to show you how to use it to make your subject pop. Right off the bat, identify which direction the light is coming from. How do we know? Look for the shadows. If there is light, there is a shadow. So how direction can make a difference in your photos? In this example, the light comes from the right, casting a shadow on the left. But it does more than that. Check out the space behind the subject. It creates separation. Can you see the clutter in the shadows? Yeah, a little bit, but not enough to distract you. Here's another example of using tonal contrast. Notice the space behind the subject. That's what I'm looking for in the scene. The narrow pocket of light highlights the subject beautifully, creating separation. One more example of how lighting can make a difference. On the left, the subject is illuminated, drawing our eyes naturally to the brighter areas, while the darker areas fade into the background. The second shot is captured just a moment later, and now they are in the shadows. The camera's meter adjusts to evaluate the exposure in the shadows, which brightens the entire image and brings attention to the clutter in the background. These are the details I consider. I will choose the first shot as the best take. If the light is coming from directly behind the camera, then your own shadow will be in the shot. The subject is standing closely to the wall, so I'm using the graffiti as part of the focal point to make it work. You've probably heard of the midday sun. It gets a bad reputation because its high intensity lights up the whole scene evenly. You can see the distraction in the background. It's harder to establish a clear focal point. So how to make it work? If you can find some shades, like this lovely lady, use the overhead lighting to highlight the subject. If you're looking for a cinematic look, I highly recommend backlighting. If you see the darker side of the subject, the light is coming from the opposite side of the camera. Notice it highlights the edges. It's called the rim light or kicker in studio lighting. This technique makes your subject pop. You can always underexpose the shot to create silhouettes. Backlighting is very common in the movies, and I can show you endless examples because that's my favorite lighting. You can capture both high-key and low-key photos. Keep in mind that you can move around to control the direction of light. Ask yourself, where do I want the shadows to land? Take this drink as an example. I place the shadow behind it and include it as part of the composition. Long shadows can be captured in the afternoon. This one, for example, the sun is high up in the sky. It was around 2 p.m. A higher vantage point definitely helps. The higher the camera angle, the longer the shadows. I captured a series of zebra crossing with long shadows, and I really enjoyed it. When I see pockets of light like this, it's a no-brainer. Anyone standing in the light becomes photogenic. Always pay attention to the background. For example, this is top light. You can see it from the shadow. But if I place the subject in front of the shades, I can still manage to create separation. I can give you another example in bright daylight. Looks like there are no shades. If we look closer, there it is. Before we wrap this up, I have one last tip for you. I spot this guy from across the street, and then I move around and I settle with this angle. I use burst mode to capture the smoke coming out. I like how it covers his face. The way I process this photo is dodge and burn. It's a technique used in the dark room. You can also find this button in Photoshop. What does it mean? You can lighten and darken a specific area. So I made the smoke brighter and darken the clutters in the background. You can also do it in Lightroom using brush or mask. When we process photos, some areas will naturally remain in the shadow, and that's perfectly fine. If you increase the shadows too much, it can introduce noise that ruins your image. So that's how you do it. Next time when your photos look flat, you know how to make your subject pop. Follow the light, they say. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.